Morning everyone, this is Alex Corey back with cultivatedchange.com. Following up on our series of micro tutorials that I do, and I realized I had never actually told you guys the name of my microgreen business. That is KC Gardens. I started it a couple years ago with my partner at the time. It was just the initials of our names. And that's a separate microgreen business that we use to do indoor growing year-round. It's the same thing as Cultivated Change. I blended it all into one big health thing, but if you ever search for that, the logo you'll find is KC Gardens. It's an Ouroboros, so it's the same thing. Just to let you guys know. Today we're going to start our pea tutorial. So I've done a sunflower and a radish, and then the masterclass, of course, which is right here. But we'll do a pea comparison today. And I've been doing this off and on anyway, just for my own benefit, to see if different pea varieties have the same tendril structure, flavor, texture, last as long in the fridge, is easy to harvest, all those things that are nice to know when you're in production. But the two that I've been very impressed with lately is first from True Leaf Market, link in the description. This is Speckled pea. That's my go-to, and it's been my go-to for a while. The length of it is perfect. The tendrils come out right at the 7 to 8 day mark. Chefs love it because it looks great on a plate. It's got some variegation on the leaves. And then this is the one I've been impressed with recently as a backup, but it's pretty comparable. This is the Austrian winter pea that I mentioned in a couple of videos already. And this is traditionally a cover crop, but it is well performing as a micro seed as well, or a shoot. This I get at Lotus Farm Garden, link in the description, in town in West Asheville. I use 300 grams per tray. You can go higher. 300 grams is filling a 10-20 tray pretty full, as in the cover of the soil doesn't have a lot of extra room, and that nets, depends on when you cut it, but if you cut right when the tendrils first appear, probably around a pound, and I let it go a little longer just because I'm on a 10-day cycle for pea, and I get about 22 ounces out of it. Different in the summer or winter, but winter production is fabulous. This is 300 grams per. I usually use a bigger container, but just to show you guys. In the other shots, you'll see it in the bigger container. So we're going to do a side-by-side comparison, see which germinates quicker, see if there's any mold issues. I've never had any mold issues with pea. Some people support sanitizing speckled pea. I have seen a little mold if I soak them too long or leave them covered for too long, but it's never been detrimental to the actual growth, and I cut very high on the pea, so it's never crept onto the actual pea shoot. But we will roll the intro, and then I will get back to you with the soaking times, and so it is a 6 to 8 hour soak for both. I soak both the morning before I seed, and then we will be right back with the seeding procedure. All right, we are back in the afternoon, and I have the speckled pea, and this is 600 grams, so 2 trays of the Austrian winter pea. I'm just going to give a brief overview of this process. If you want in detail with everything, I'll put my masterclass here, and that has this process in it, but I'm just going to fill these 10-20 trays with holes in the bottom. For pea, I use a little more than an inch just because the root systems love to dig, and you don't have to water as frequently, and when they start growing, they grow very quickly, and they don't recover from underwatering well. So I'm going to put about 1.5 inches of soil in each of these, and then I'm going to tamp or smooth out, tamp down, water,
spread the pea, water, stack, and I will just fast forward through that process. If you want it in detail, like I said, go to the masterclass, and then we'll give you a shot of how densely it's planted afterwards. Okay, so what you saw there was me attempting to use the hose to water these in, realizing it was frozen for the most part because it was very cold last night, and then finishing, this is room temperature water, so just finishing off with that. I did tamp down the peas at the end there. That's just to make sure they have even contact with the soil, and then I'm just going to water them in. Again, this is probably 75 degrees. Try to bring that soil temperature up. Peas don't care that much if they have cold soil temperature, so they'll germinate between 60 and 70, but they'll germinate faster if it is around 70 degrees. And the one thing to remember about peas is that they have very high germination force, meaning if they're not all level and you're not stacking them, if you have peas on top of peas, they will push each other up and compete for space because their roots are very vigorous. I suggest stacking them when you do this, and I'll just stack these three, but I'll put the wheatgrass in the same stack that I do because it germinates at the same time, so there's usually a stack of 4. So just remember, if you're not putting anything on top of them and you're spritzing with a water bottle just after you do this, make sure you have everything with contact to the soil as spread out as you can, just because they'll compete for space and end up bumping some off. You just won't get as many actual shoots as you would have. I'll just give you guys a quick overview shot of the density, and then we will go inside and stack. So there's some spots in there that are not covered, but 300 grams seems to be the sweet spot to prevent disease pressure or mold pressure. You can bump that up to 350 if you want to, but it works well for me in the winter. Just wanted to show you guys quickly the stacking process. So I already have these stacked. This is the tray we just did. You can see the pea under there. Again, if you're just doing a single tray, I still recommend putting an empty tray on top and putting some weight on it if you have the peas that dense. They have a lot of germination pressure and they will budge each other because some will start to germinate before the others. So this is just a 10-pound brick. I actually like the heavier pavers. I got some below here, but they're all in use on radish and sunflower right now, so this weight will be fine. I do have a wheatgrass on the bottom. One thing to note about pea is wheatgrass is the only thing that germinates as quickly. If you're doing pea and stacking it with something else, pea would go on the bottom because the roots will dig into the crop below it. The wheatgrass actually germinates the same rate at the pea and is actually a little more vigorous root system, so it always goes on the bottom, but for peas, usually put them on the bottom. We'll check on these guys over the weekend, probably about Monday is when I'll start thinking about uncovering them. We'll check back then. It is Monday, just past noon, so we are about 4 days, just short of 4 days into our seeding, and we're going to check on them. This was the brick that we had put on top, and those guys look great. Let me take that off. So this is the bottom tray. Remember, is just a wheatgrass that I put on the bottom just because I needed it to germinate. This guy looks great, if you can see that. That's an Austrian winter pea. If you remember, we had a couple ones going. That's another Austrian winter. And if you heard that, or if you saw that, the roots on this have already started to dig. See, they're got some soil on them. The roots are pretty vigorous, so they've started to dig into the tray below it. And this is the speckled. This is the issue I've been having with speckled recently. I'll do a close-up of that. There's plenty of mold there. Some people had reported this, and I had never had an issue with this. Some people had said, sanitize speckled pea for, same as I would do sunflower. So 5 minutes at 9% peroxide or something like that, because there's a mold on it. I have never had that issue before, so I might have encountered a bad batch. It still looked like it germinated though. There's still plenty of pea shoots there, just not as many as I was expecting. So I'm going to spritz this down with peroxide. I'll show you that process. And this is why none of these are as big as they could be, if you notice. So, I mean, you can have them up here. I don't cover peas with a blackout dome for this reason. I don't want that moisture, because the seeds are so dense, I don't want that moisture sitting like that, and I've never actually had to. If you put it under light at this stage, for my cycle, they will be ready. This will be a week later. So this will actually, if I uncover it today or tomorrow, be harvested a week from tomorrow. So at this stage, I would rather give them the extra time and have a tendril up here at the top, which we'll see whenever we go to harvest it. I would rather have a little spiral tendril come out at the top for that aesthetic. The flavor is the same. If you put it in a blackout dome and flip the tray over on it like this, if you do that, they'll keep growing without light, and they won't start photosynthesizing. But because they're under light for so long, I don't see the need to do that. They grow fine without it. Now, if you are trying to grow to a specific height, you don't want that tendril, you don't want it to get the stalk to get real fibrous, and you just want it to be tender and crunchy, and you're going to harvest it when it's about this tall. Uncover it. So if I was harvesting it on a 7-day cycle, which I technically could instead of a 10-day or about a 12-day, I would cover it, and then I would uncover it for just a couple days and let the pea shoot maybe reach about here and just start turning green. Some people do like that. That's not my style. You get more weight if you let it actually grow, because you get more leaves, and I really like that tendril. It looks good on a plate, and it's just aesthetic. People seem to like it. So I am going to take these out because we're starting to get mold issues. I'll show you the spritzing, and they are going to be placed on bottom trays under light. I'll give you a shot of that real quick. We're going to quickly remedy this mold issue. This is a bottle of 7% peroxide, and I am just going to spritz the problem areas with, it's definitely some higher density molds in there. We'll just let that oxidize for a while. So give it about 5 minutes just to oxidize. You'll see bubbles, and then we'll spray it down with a spray bottle. Spray bottle just like that. Peas do not like to dry out, so I've filled these trays without holes. I just filled the troughs on them. We don't want to oversaturate them because there might be potential mold lingering, so just fill the troughs. It doesn't look like I have because the floor is actually tilted, but the shelving unit's level. So we're just gonna put these on,
put them under lights, and we'll check back in a couple days. We're doing an update on the peas today. I'm headed out, but I just wanted to give you guys a brief check-in. This is a week after we seeded, so I'm getting ready to seed these guys again. So these will have been uncovered at the beginning of the week and been under lights for 3 days at this point. So they're steadily going, and if you remember, this was a speckled, and these two are the Austrian winter. And the Austrian winter is growing way more quickly. It also didn't have the mold issue. I've since started sanitizing the speckled pea. That's what I did this morning before I soaked it. So we'll see if that makes any difference, because that was unusual for the speckled pea to have that issue. But you can see the difference here. Everything looks very healthy. And I believe I mentioned this, but just to reiterate, peas don't like to be dry, really, ever. They don't like super wet feet, but because they grow so vigorously, they don't recover well from underwatering. So I will make sure that the troughs of these trays dry out before I water them, but I won't let them go a full day being dry. So they're growing well. And the other thing to remember or to take note of, if you don't have, or if you're mixing shelving units, so if you have a broccoli or a cabbage or something on the same shelving units that you have peas, the peas grow very quickly. And if you can see, some of the peas here are actually bending towards the center of the light. So the most amount of lumens will be in the center. So obviously the edges will bend a little bit in, and then the center of the shelving unit right here will be the most concentrated light. So a lot of them, the edges will bend in. That's not a big deal, but if you have the option, put the peas in the middle and they'll appreciate it more. And we will check back in on these guys over the weekend, probably on a Saturday or Sunday, and we'll let you know the different times at which you can harvest. In a couple days, these will be ready for harvest, depending on your need. This is 10 days in, I believe, so this is Sunday, and we seeded on a Thursday, so yeah, about 10 days. This is the first harvestable point, and I moved things around just so I didn't have to crouch down talking to you guys. So if it looks different, it's because I moved everything up a shelf, and this light is off just so you can see everything. We have our two Austrian winter peas here and our speckled pea. Speckled pea will be caught up by harvest day, which for me is Wednesday, so we still have 3 days. And it's doing just fine. Like, the germination isn't as good as I wanted, and that's because of the sanitization issue that I mentioned, that I have since started sanitizing. But maybe that's 70% germination because I lost a couple of the mold. Austrian winter pea did not have that issue, so that is very lush. You can harvest at this stage. So if you can see, that's pretty tall. That's 5 or 6 inches tall, and the tendrils just came out. If you can see these little guys at the top here, these little tendrils. That's what I go for. That's the aesthetic I like, and they fit well in my clamshells at this stage. Perfectly, actually. I let them go a little more because for bulk sales, I just go for weight. And people are probably using them for stir fry or putting them in soups. They wilt down, so the length is actually desired. If you're selling to restaurants or just for yourself, this is the perfect height. So if you chop it off, a lot of people will go real close to the pea. We're just right above the tray line. A lot of people will go above this first leaf here, so you just get that portion, because that's perfect on a plate. Taste of these is fantastic. Crunchy, almost exactly like a pea. But your call. If you want more weight, you can let them go, so you'll be approaching 13 days, close to 2 weeks by the time you harvest. Depends on your cycle. If you're doing it for yourself, right now is absolutely perfect texture. There's no stringiness. They snap still. Like a good snap pea. You don't have that that string that you do get if they go too long and the peas start filling up the pod and turning into more of a shelling pea. The Austrian or the speckled pea will be ready Wednesday. They'll all be harvested on Wednesday, but this is perfect for if you're doing a home delivery service, growing for yourself even. It holds up more than a week. Just make sure it is watered a day before you harvest, so it has the stem and leaves have a full chance to be fully hydrated. I never let pea dry out. I've never had a situation like you do with sunflower, where if you water the day of even, you'll have a ton of transpiration and sweating on the leaf as it's trying to get rid of excess moisture, and then you have to think about drying it to store it. I've never had that issue with pea. I can drown it the day I harvest, and occasionally I'll see a water droplet up here, but it's always better to have the crop fully hydrated. That's the only crop I think I have that with. Wheatgrass, sunflower, all the brassicas, radish, you do not want moisture on the leaves. They don't store as well. They start rotting. They get slimy and weird. Pea, never had an issue with. So just as much water as you see fit. I do about, even this stage, they're drinking almost double what they would at the beginning because there's so much volume. I probably fill the troughs of the bottom trays and then again. So it's probably close to, I use a growler to water just because I'm inside on wood floor and I don't have a hydro setup yet because it's not worth it. The chance of breaking is pretty big, so I just use a growler. So this is half a gallon, and I use a third of this on the peas. So that would be 20 ounces. It's a good amount on the pea. Everything else maybe gets a pint, maybe 2 cups, but this gets significantly more. So water as you see fit for your purposes, but I'll give you a final shot of it when I'm harvesting. But if you're just eating for yourself or you have a specific size container to fill, good to go right now. It's not even Wednesday morning, and these guys are going bananas. Pea is my favorite crop. It's the most profitable. It's one of the easiest to grow. It does take a little longer, but this is why it's my favorite. It's just so robust. And this is even, you can screw up like we did with the speckled and have mold issues and still have an abundant crop, which is why it's my favorite. So this is Tuesday night. I just run into a whole bunch of time constraints harvest morning. So this is fine though. So it's only gonna get bigger. This is perfect size. I will get, this is this Austrian winter. This will be about 20 ounces. This is over a pound. It's insane. And then this is a speckled, which is still amazing. This will be probably somewhere between 14 and 18 ounces, average of about a pound. And that's just fine. The leaves are slightly different. So the speckled has some white patchiness, which is the speckle. And I harvest right here, right above the tray line, just trim it down. You can do it with the scissors, you can do it with the Japanese knife. I say a Japanese knife, just a long kitchen knife that's very sharp. You can do it with hedge trimmers. I do like the, peas are more prone to having cut marks because they can get stringy at this size. So you need a very sharp knife. Hedge trimmers, I don't find work all that well just because it's not a fast enough sawing motion. So I still use a knife and just chop them down. Almost all of these go into bulk mixes and into my sample pack along with sunflower as the bulk part of the mix. The flavor is so amazing. It usually catches people off guard, and it's a major selling point for everything else. And the seed is so cheap, it's extremely profitable. Again, my favorite crop to grow. If you're gonna start with a micro, radish and pea, definitely easiest to do, almost guaranteed results, and super easy to harvest. Nothing bad to say about it. So we will check back later with another video. These are going out to the wholesale market tomorrow morning, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks for watching the video, everyone. I hope you found it of some value. My goal is just to spread information on how to grow micros, and we'll be doing future videos on gardening as well, just to get as many people growing food as possible to decentralize the food system as much as possible. I have my social media linked down below. That's a link tree that'll give you all the specific socials in case you'd like to reach out. Don't hesitate to leave a comment. I'd be happy to answer questions and see what you guys would like more videos about, either head-to-head comparisons with varieties or specific varieties, just ones I haven't covered yet. I'll put my masterclass here somewhere that goes over the common ones and my basic procedure. If you'd like to support the channel, I have a donate link down in the description that I'll bring you to PayPal on my website, or you can just go directly to PayPal to help support the content creation. And if you need some bulk seeds, I have a True Leaf Market affiliate link in the description. Really good prices, and shipping over about £1 starts being worthwhile. And if you start growing things regularly, £1 for most of the seeds is the best way to start, in my opinion. Until next time.